We have empathy too. We're just often approaching it from a different way. We want to see people become empowered.
Like, I've got 2 white sons that I'm not going to train to be in the penalty box.
Yeah.
I'm going to train them to be leaders and good people.
Yes.
Absent of their skin color.
Yeah. The short-sightedness of that leftist approach is so crazy to me because it's assuming they have a better option. Like the Antifa stuff, all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, there's shit wrong. What do you have that's better? Chauvin. Yeah, Derek Chauvin. Yeah. Floyd's been through enough.
Yeah. He was guilty of some things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One of the reasons Jason and I are even sitting here right now is just social media, just Facebook posts. And after George Floyd's death last year, I think that was, May? Was it?
I think so.
May, June?
April. June, I think.
Yeah, so that, there had been Ahmaud Arbery, then Breonna Taylor, then George Floyd. And George Floyd was like, it checked all the boxes, for the left, I guess. But, the Ahmaud Arbery thing, the details around that are fuzzy. It sounded like that was not a great situation.
Well, this the guy was running and the
the kid.
Yeah,
and they showed the pictures of him in the
those
polo
guys. Those guys shouldn't have handled it that way. Yeah, that was a.
Yeah.
As far as,
but the thing is, the details around all of it are pretty fuzzy. Yeah. But immediately, it's like fuzzy's enough, right? It is going to be basically the KKK was chasing him down and shot him.
Oh yeah, and he's a former officer, so that was a big flag. They love that.
All of that. So that happened. Then Breonna Taylor. Now the Breonna Taylor thing, like because the media they squashed as much evidence as they could so they could have their narrative. Oprah, in the first time of the history of the O magazine, did not promote herself. She put Breonna Taylor on the front. Okay. First time ever.
Okay.
That's a big deal. I mean, Oprah is a mogul.
She's a powerhouse.
She's a powerhouse, and hey, more power to her. But here's the thing, Oprah, like, you built your business on the backs of apparently these really racist, white suburban communities that hate you. No, they loved you, and now you're a billionaire. So, I don't know why you're trying to take down your own machine.
Are white people who are not as powerful as the system of white people, the caste system, but they still, no matter where they are on the rung or the ladder of success, they still have their whiteness.
Yeah, Breonna was that case was,
it was a lie.
You nailed that one, that's one of those ones where I'm sure some seeing me say this would be like, oh, that's what you would say. But that's one where checking conservative outlets would actually, they really did not give people all the information with that case.
At all.
I really only found out through conservative outlets. And then, of course, I go, well, maybe they're just being biased. And I looked into it. It was all true. They made it sound like, at first, if I'm not mistaken, the first bit of news was that they went to the wrong house. And they shot up, or, it was misinformation all across the board.
The big story.
She was just an innocent bystander, was over there.
In bed, asleep. They shot her.
Yeah.
Now, what came in later from the Black Attorney General of Kentucky, which, it's not always like the most fun to watch, the Attorney General give the final synopsis after all the data has been looked at.
Yeah.
But yes, conservative media, especially like the Brandon Tatums of the world, if you know Officer Tatum.
Yes.
Those kind of guys, they had the information and were trying to pump it out. They're trying to put it out there. Twitter and Instagram, they're throttling, blocking, censoring.
That's when I found Tatum was that this case.
So they're calling it hate speech and all that stuff. It's not hate speech, it's just this is evidence.
Yeah.
Then finally the Attorney General came out and was like, I know this is going to upset a lot of people because of what's been portrayed and what the NBA's done.
I remember that. We spoke at the...
and he's a, here's another guy that you can tell, he's a conservative black guy that does not care about, he doesn't care about his color. He cares about doing his job well. That's it. And he said, ultimately, she wasn't like a nurse at the time, like everybody's saying. She used to be. Her boyfriend was a drug dealer.
When the shots were fired. I didn't know that there was even shots fired in return for the longest time. That's how little the mainstream was talking about it.
Yeah, he fired. He was fired.
He fired first. Yeah.
They didn't have to knock. It was a no-knock warrant. They knocked anyway. They announced themselves. Anyway.
The neighbors verified that.
All of that.
Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment. The officers' statements about their announcement are corroborated by an independent witness who was near in proximity to apartment 4. In other words, the warrant was not served as a no-knock warrant. In his statement, he says that the male was holding a gun, arms extended, in a shooting stance. Sergeant Mattingly saw the man's gun fire, heard a boom, and immediately knew he was shot as a result of feeling heat in his upper thigh. Kenneth Walker fired the shot that hit Sergeant Mattingly, and there's no evidence to support that Sergeant Mattingly was hit by friendly fire from other officers. Our investigation showed, and the grand jury agreed, that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in the return of deadly fire after having been fired upon by Kenneth Walker.
He starts shooting. She wasn't laying in bed asleep. She was standing there. They begin shooting back. Now people say, well, they didn't have to shoot that much. You know what? Like, okay, if you're going to go to that point and we're going to be at a level where it's like he's not liable for anything, like he was shooting at the cop. You do that, expect bullets to be shot in return. And if you've got your girlfriend right beside you, you've just put her life in danger.
Yeah.
So the entire narrative was a farce.
Yeah.
And a demonic farce.
Poor girl's just sleeping in her bed. These cops just come in blazing bullets and just take her out.
Yeah, so, riots had kind of already begun. The machine was rolling at that point. But it took 3 or 4 months, I remember, for that truth to come out. And by then the damage was done because George Floyd had already happened, right? And so people had already diverted their attention. Piggyback on a piggyback. The George Floyd thing. Nobody shows the body cam videos. The video leaked to like the BBC, and then we got it somehow.
Yeah.
And it shows it. It's like, they're still trying to twist it and show clips and all. And I'm gonna preface what I'm about to say by saying this: Derek Chauvin was in the wrong. Like, he absolutely should not have been on his neck that long.
Yeah.
Even though that is it is an approved police procedure for a time. I don't know how long.
Yeah, no doubt.
But
and actually, I want to say they even. It's a minute detail, but or maybe not. But they actually in court even were able to show that he was actually on his shoulder. It was kind of wild.
Yeah,
of course, Biden came out still on verdict day and used the whole neck phrase on purpose.
The moment I said neck, I knew because here's another thing. I watch this stuff. I pay attention. I didn't find out until I'm busy, so I couldn't watch the whole trial, but I saw the end, and they were breaking down the final arguments. And the thing is, it wasn't the neck. It was actually on his shoulder, and they said actually asphyxiation couldn't be proved because there was it was actually over like on his whatever.
Yeah.
But all that to say this, like, yes, that was
still horrible.
It was a bad look. The whole thing was bad.
Yeah.
But the man freaking resisted both passively and aggressively resisted arrest for like 20 minutes. I mean, you watch the whole.
He said the "I can't breathe" part when he was just merely sitting in the back.
You seen the whole thing?
I can't breathe.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So they try to say in the closing arguments. I saw this. They show Chauvin walking up, and they show a still image. Like, here's when George Floyd looked to his left. Here's what he saw, and it's Chauvin with his gun out.
Okay.
No, when he walked up with a gun in the holster. He tapped him with a baton. He's like, hey, roll down the window. He rolled down the window.
They always have their hand there, as they should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Floyd wouldn't get out of the car. He wouldn't put his hands on the wheel. He actually reached behind him.
He's acting panicky.
And Chauvin then pulls the gun out. Boom. That's when they snap the picture to show this is what approached, this black man who's already afraid because of systemic racism.
Yeah.
That whole narrative. So I know I talked a lot there, but there was this build up, right? And it's led to this place where truth, in my opinion, it ain't even my opinion, it's truth matters less than feelings. Emotions are reigning supreme.
Yeah.
And I feel like
we're that headline culture. We're an ADD culture. We get our little bit to chew on, and that's it. And even hearing you talk about that, it's kind of sad because I dealt with that today with a post. But like, where to even speak on this, to even just bring up how they're playing certain angles, so many that maybe would choose to watch this are going to instantly just be like, oh, that's racist. He's defending this. He's defending that. It's like, no. The nuance matters here.
Yeah, it does.
Like the way these angles are being played, that matters. We should care about being played as a society because that's what's going on. It's not justifying it. I have mixed feelings with the Breonna thing about this shooting back and forth, but that's not my job. So it's like my thoughts are limited on that. I hate that happened on all ends. As far as I know, the guy got shot in the leg. They probably did go a little haywire after that.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes. I don't like that either. But the point is it was played. It was used against us. We were left out. We were purposefully left out of tons of knowledge, knowing that worst case, they don't have to be sorry for it. So let's just build that narrative up. Rolls into Floyd, like you said, all that happens. Yeah. But you speak on that video like you just did. So many will think that in itself is awful and racist.
Yeah,
they can't detach themselves from that tribalism of teams, to be able to even hear any kind of thing.
Yeah, identity politics.
You're clearly being that way. You see a lot of people that get interviewed on the streets at events. A lot of liberals or whoever. I'm sure it happens on the other side too. But like I watched a video where there was a woman getting interviewed by these two twin girls or something. They're conservatives. As soon as she picked up that she was conservative, she went, "Oh, not talking to you."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, not cheating on my team." And it's It's like, dude, it's crazy. It's like we've truly been tribalized right down the line where we can't even discuss how we're being played as an entire society because it's like, well, still, I get it, and I've been guilty of it. It happens when people post if there's violence. The Philando Castile thing really bothered me. That was clearly a mistake. It's bound to happen. There's 800,000 plus interactions a year or whatever.
No. Here's the deal.
Okay.
There's close to 1 million police officers, if not right at 1 million in the nation.
Officers to 1 million. That's right. Yeah. The
million officers. 45 million black people in the country.
Okay.
There are millions upon millions of interactions.
Yeah.
In 2019, there were only 14 unarmed black people, and I say only with hurt in my heart that it happened.
Yeah.
But there were 14 black people that died due to police shooting or however it died from police shooting or killing an unarmed black person. And by the way, that's police of any race.
Yes.
Okay. 13 out of the 14 were either going for the officer's firearm or actively resisting arrest. 13 out of the 14.
Yeah.
So that brings it to one that died. And this is 2019.
Yeah.
But that number is actually pretty indicative of all the way through Trump's presidency. It was higher under Obama. Not much higher, but 20, 24.
Yeah.
But you talk about that many interactions. There's about 45 unarmed white people that die per year. And I know our population's a lot more, but you really do the math in terms of where's the crime not. It actually evens out so that if you, it was Roland, I can't think of his name. He's a Harvard professor.
Yes.
He did this deep, detailed study, and he's black, by the way.
Yeah.
Wanting to find out about what's the word for police overaggression, excessive force. And he said he set out to prove it, but he really dug into the details. And it came out, he's got a great quote. He's like, shockingly, I couldn't find it. It seemed to have this balanced effect across all the races. And I mean, you'd think at this point, if I'm a police officer, the moment I pull over, especially a black man alone in his car, because if you see a black man with a family, they're probably going to be a little more reasonable, just out of the fact they've got a family to protect.
Well, that's discernment, and it's sad that even some would say that's racist. You're saying that
they will.
That's discernment. You would do the same with a white guy with discernment.
I'm not going to say you go into the situation differently.
Yeah.
But my mindset, and I'm going to try to make a very anti-racist point, Ibram Kendi. If I'm a white guy going to a person that's black in the car, I'm scared. And I'm scared that if anything goes wrong, I either have to completely take it on the chin because, just like you said, and I want Jason to talk about what happened most recently in the news, but it's like I've either got to completely be a sacrificial lamb and just let them either beat me, shoot me, whatever, because the moment I pull out my gun and something happens, even if it's totally deserved, it's national headlines. It's national headlines.
Act first, find out what happened later.
It's the quickest way for a black person to become a martyr or a saint among the race grievance community, and the quickest way for the white cop to become a devil nationally.
And it's a win-win for the agenda, because not only do they get that division, but they're also they're training culture. They're training us to act first and just take the headlines, take that as fact.
It's also creating this culture too of families of black kids, both white and black. They believe this narrative that is continually laid over about systemic racism. And they think, well, to be a loving parent, I need to learn more about this.
Yeah.
And they read books like Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility. And pretty soon they're having the talk with their black kid about, here's how you act when an officer comes to the car door. You should have that talk with all your kids, first of all, in terms of how to act respectfully toward somebody that's, in authority in that kind of situation.
My dad had that talk with me. I roll down my windows. I keep my hands on my wheel. I go on the way getting pulled over. I go and pull out my registration because I don't even want to reach in my glove box. Like, I don't want some new rookie that's nervous or whatever.
That's right.
But you think about the amount of officers, the amount of experiences, the interactions that happen. Probably sound cold to somebody, but I'm blown away. There's not way more Philando Castiles or white people that happens to too. Because I know my wife as an officer, we don't bring home much. I can tell you right now, she gets paid bi-weekly, and it's like after just me and her's insurance, it's like $1,100 every 2 weeks. Like, I'm not saying that like poor people would maybe mess up or lower income, but we're expecting this cream of the crop. We pay pilots and doctors a certain bit for a reason. And we expect these like movie star type police officers and this and that. These just ultimate character people to always do it. And a lot of those people want money. They want certain things for their family. Some really great people that would be cops aren't, because it just plain and simply doesn't pay enough. Which is another reason why defunding is nuts. But when the hiring pool is that limited, it's a testament to me of how great Americans can be, because we have all these people that are willing to take crap money and still get crapped on every day. And it scares me because it's only a matter of time, and it's already starting to happen, where less and less awesome, would be incredible community helpers are going to not become police because of what they see every day. Why would you?
Well, we know two police officers in Murfreesboro that don't necessarily love their jobs anymore. They just feel like, this is what I'm called to do. This is what I kind of have to do.
It's a calling.
I'm not going to say his last name, but I know Shane wants to quit. He wants to move to something else because he feels no love. And he's put himself and his family in a dangerous, precarious position. Man, I shout out to the Blue. I love you guys and girls.
Yo, you bootlicker. it's man. I just hate that logic in general eludes these situations.
Here's the other thing, and I feel so corny saying it, but I'm saying, and I love black people, especially black people that live by truth. Because after George Floyd died, one of the things I did was I went to lots of different people in my world and friends that are black. And I wanted to talk to them. The conservative black folks talk just like we're talking right now. And they understand this entire like dark cloud of mind control that seems to be on kind of all people right now in terms of this issue.
It's racism to keep them down, keep them feeling like they are going to be down.
Not the racism in the sense that the cloud people want you to believe, but like actual racism. To keep them down because it keeps those people in power. They've got this narrative they can continue to sell. But when I tried to talk to people that were more on the left side of the aisle, black people that would say, really, really believe strongly in BLM and systemic racism, if I brought up facts or I brought up points, you said this earlier about if somebody heard you say that about, the play-by-play with George Floyd, you'd be called a racist.
Halfway through it.
That is what happened. There was a shut-off, and one guy even put his finger in my face like this. It was like, you're a racist, and did that. And I knew I can't win here. No. I turned around and walked away. Now that was one instance. Another one on Facebook when, this one guy who's a black pastor, but he's really hard into the BLM stuff. And I know him from way back, but he's a pastor in Chicago. And he put out, hey, it's time for white men to get in the penalty box and, let black men lead for a while and all this. And the wording upset me because it's like, I've got two white sons and I'm not going to train to be in the penalty box. I'm going to train them to be leaders and good people, absent of their skin color. Right. And I said that, and man, all these people, kind of came at me. And one lady said, you're the kind of guy that's going to teach your sons to kneel on a black man's neck. And again, I was so mad. It toughened me up.
So extreme.
It's extreme, but it toughened me up because it's like, you know what? That's the kind of times we're living in. So if I let that scare me, now I did walk away from the conversation. It's like I can't talk to these people. But I think what we have to, those people though, are able to say what they say and do what they do because they have, the power of the media right now behind them.
And those people are mainly white.
Strangely,
carry on. I know what you mean though. They have their so it's like, oh Lord knows, these people, those people. I know you don't mean it that way, but it's the people that, and it's I guess it comes down to really parenting. Just like the people, racism was kind of on its way out. I honestly feel they're the ones that are still there. Their grandparents and their parents probably still say the N-word. It happens, but a lot of people on the other end of it, a lot of the ones that really buy into the media narrative, that's their parents maybe were the same way. Then we have these other friends. We probably have some mutual friends this way that their parents are killing it, successful, and they were just like, look, yeah, stuff sucked for my parents, the grandparents, all that, and it still sucks for me to an extent too. Meaning those people, those parents of our friends, but they just said, okay, now what? And let's make the most of it. We have this. It's like we're supposed to take everything back to this starting point that starts everything fresh, and that's just not possible. It's not wrong to say, okay, shit was bad. It was. There was segregation. The stuff happened in Alabama. I first saw that was Forrest Gump when I was a kid. I'm just like, that really happened? They were yelling at them while they're going into school. It kind of woke me up. I started looking into that kind of stuff. It's gross things happen. I hate that happened. I had nothing to do with it, though. Yeah. To me, it's like, I want, but I mean, there's no...
But don't you think, Jason, the agenda right now, the current, is not a civil rights movement. It is. They never bring up Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King believed in America. He had a choice to make it at a certain point. And he finally got to the point, he said, you know what? No. I believe in the promissory note that is our founding documents, and we're about to make good on it. Because he said the Constitution said all men are created equal. There were flaws in the founders, but he said the promissory note of what they wrote was genius. We're just about to live up to it. Yeah. And we were so close. And Shelby Steele, who Jason introduced me to this book called White Guilt, he talks about this. He said, my parents were of the Martin Luther King Jr. civil rights movement, and we were so close. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, this black militancy stepped in. And it was not, Black lives are equal. It was Black lives are better. And that... Well, you said, why can't we just get it normal?
Like morally better.
Or start from scratch even. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, cultural Marxism would say, you can't have an America. You have to burn it to the ground. So there's a reason they're pulling down statues of even great abolitionists. Frederick Douglass statue was pulled down. Yeah. Why would that be? He went from slave to, I think it was a congressman, the first black congressman in the 1800s, by the way. Right? It's insane. Right, His story is insane.
Of all people for that to take down.
They pulled his down because they don't like that idea. That's why a guy like Herman came.
That's twofold. Also, by despising our history, it lets us have an easier time doing away with anything we would ever cherish, any kind of American tradition. But it also allows us to pull away from MLK's belief that regardless of the flaws of our founders, the actual Constitution itself, Declaration of Independence, is a beautiful thing. Yeah. But now this is the byproduct of it. It's beautiful for that agenda, but if they can turn us all away from if we can judge everything by the flaws of the edges of things, important or not, then we could do away with everything that ever had to do with anything. Yeah. But if we did that, if we really honestly carry on that cancel culture approach to our history, then nothing should ever be cherished ever, which is Marxism 101. Yeah. I mean, if no art ever. I mean, you can't find me one old artist, one old-time, super old-time musician or anything. That's happening.
They're taking Shakespeare out of colleges right now.
Yeah, let's do away with it.
He's too white.
Once you start chipping away at everything and you let the flaw take you away from the core of why they were important, then it no longer matters, and that's such a shame. I mean, that also does away with the respect really humanity should have for being able to evolve. How is it your whole premise is to evolve people into this equality state or whatever, white people, whatever you want to say, but then at the same time you're completely unforgiving to the change? It's never going to end. There's no forgiveness. There's no mega point where you reach the euphoric enlightenment of wokeness, where you now have received your woke carrying virtue signaling card. You are one of us, or whatever. It's like it just never ends. And this idea that let's do away with everything and build it up without a better plan is ridiculous. Whether that be talking about capitalism, whether it be talking about love for country, our country as a whole, our justice system. Say what you will, but our justice system's by far obviously the best throughout history. Our government, our governmental system, all of it has been that way. Yeah, now it's getting chipped away at. But that's the thing. It's sad that you're looked at as some right-wing conspiracy theorist or whatever to say, oh, that's Marxism, oh, that's this, that's that. But how can you not piece those together? Yeah, well, it's a slow-moving process. No one's going to accept any of these things. But even if you step away from the whole, oh, that's the big powers that be are trying to change us, and they're George Soros is moving chess pieces, and now we're this and that. Regardless, we're still beginning to shame our country, and we're gonna walk away from something for what? The short-sightedness of that leftist approach is so crazy to me, because it's assuming they have a better option. Like the Antifa stuff, all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, there's shit wrong. What do you have that's better? I mean, I want to see it. Like, show me. You assume you won't have corruption in your euphoric communist.
Well, that though is where they would. There is a book, and there is a George Soros pulling pieces, and there is a Mark Zuckerberg, and there is.
But it's completely
the Davos
unproven
group
to work. There's no proof that it would work.
Yeah, to me though, they don't really want America. America has been the block to this globally, and I hate to keep saying Marxism, but basically a global techno-Marxism society. America working so well as a freedom-based individual for the people, not for the elites managing the people.
Yeah,
we've been in the way, man. We've been in the way, and I think I'm not going to dig into all the conspiracy theories right now with election fraud and all that, but I think Trump was like a huge dagger in the side of that whole agenda. Hillary not winning in 2016, I mean, they were ready to do what we're seeing now 4 years ago. It just didn't happen.
Even if it's not what Trump actually even did, the other side showed its colors so hard. It was more brazen than ever.
Yeah.
To say, and the more they got away with, the more that exponentially multiplied on being more brave about saying those Marxist approaches to things. And you're right. So it's kind of, it's in some ways, the opposition created it built it up even more than it would be.
Yeah. Well,
but it was a combination of all of it. You're right. Trump, it lit that match with it.
They weren't the left,
and because the right and the left still play ball behind closed doors. There's so much dirt on Bush. I'll even be, many Republicans will be mad at me. Reagan did some shady shit too. It's happened for years.
Yeah.
And so it's like, man, it's like, Lord, if Trump ain't done enough yet, we're going to find it. We're going to create it.
Yeah. No doubt.
But dude, Marxism.
Two things, though, based on all that you said. So one, I think guys like us, we sit here in front of a camera, we're afraid to say, well, the left and the right, because then all of a sudden, like, well, we're biased or whatever. Here's the truth about this race thing. And here, just case in point. You got a Vanderbilt professor right down the road who grew up in poverty, Carol Swain. Okay, she's in Nashville. Like, she's got a very throttled show on YouTube and all this. But she is the quintessential like black woman that came from nothing in a time of real racism that you could see, not this systemic theories. Yeah. Real racism you could see and point to.
Documented.
Yeah. She didn't care. She just, she's got so much good content out there talking about her journey, and even what she's doing now. She's got 3 PhDs. Donald Trump named her either the chair, like president, or the co-chair of the 1776 report, which was meant to go back because he knew, and the right-wing powers knew, like, hey, our history is under attack big time. Yeah. We've got to go back to the history books, look at it, and tell a truthful report about why America really did start in 1776. It was kind of in response to the 1619 project. Deal. Guess what happened the day after Joe Biden was elected? He fired Carol Swain. He dismantled the 1776 report and brought in all people from the 1619 project, which their entire goal and mission, which this was started by a New York Times writer who already has won a Nobel Prize for it. Yeah. For her idea. So stupid. I hope
they're bringing in the schools now, right? That's their whole
thing. It's all over in schools.
It shoved in all
the idea is America did not begin in 1776 with the Declaration of Independence and the Revolutionary War. America began in 1619 with the first slave coming onto our shores because we're based on slavery. So, so it's like you said, you take the one stain, and big stain though it is, that we have evolved out of. Yeah. You take that and you paint the entire country with it. You say the whole thing's bad. And again, that's why...
Devalue it. Yeah. Pull it away. Pull any beauty out of it. Don't even give any credit or just reference to the fact that every country in the world was doing these kinds of things. I mean, I had a buddy who didn't even realize that Africans were the ones that sold those.
They were selling. Yeah.
It doesn't mean, but again, even saying that, which I wish I had a better way to explain how that's so important to me, that's the problem, is that the fact that we can't even have those dialogues, because even mentioning something that could be considered a hot button, you're already in that box. Well, I should say it makes it as if I'm excusing it. That's a big problem now. And I feel that way a little bit on the left sometimes, or just those that maybe agree with a lot of that's going on. Sometimes they'll say stuff and I'm weary to even agree because I know they're going to take it somewhere that I deem kind of crazy.
Exactly.
But we got to get where we can really, get to where we can talk about that. But in the past, that happened. Every country for decades, for years, 100 years, centuries, we've had slavery, we've had these issues. And it's horrible that happened here. But it doesn't mean our whole country is shit. It's still the greatest country.
I hate to say this, Jason, but I'm gonna my philosophy right now on the path forward in terms of discussion.
Yeah.
The ship has sailed. You're not gonna. There's a few people that are still on the left that are kind of listening to both sides, and they're honest enough to watch some conservative media as well, and maybe they'll wake up. That's few and far between because most traditional liberals, they had to make a choice about a year ago. Yeah. Most of them have made it, and.
Yeah, classical liberalism is dead as far as the media is concerned.
Very few exist unless it's just, most classical liberals are like Dave Rubin. He says he's a classical liberal, but he's definitely on the conservative side because he's like, this is what classical liberalism would believe is that free speech matters, right? So, I think having that dialogue when we feel afraid to say just facts that are like right in front of your face,
just to discuss,
then there is no dialogue. So I think our goal should be wake up more of the non-political people in the middle that are just now like, wait, what's going on? And they're looking for answers. Yeah. We got to be bold enough to not be afraid to put ourselves in the public square, speak up, not be afraid of being called a racist because we're obviously not. Don't even try to defend it.
It's true. Yeah, I think we underestimate. We also fall victim to thinking that the people that are more in tune with things politically are the majority. When in all reality, the center, quote unquote, center is huge. The problem is, though, is that since the most of the mainstream media is left, so many that say they're in the center, they'll shut their ear off when they hear left or right, leftist, and they'll proudly, sometimes boastfully go, "Oh, I'm not. You think I'm Democrat? Oh, you think I'm Republican?" But their whole belief set lines up with CNN or lines up with the mainstream thing. But you're right; those are the people you really got to get a hold of. Those people, like I showed you those comments earlier. Like that, you're right. There's really no touching those folks.
The hard part too. I feel like conservatism. There's progressivism and conservatism. Think about the names. Conservatism says we believe in what we have. Racism, no. Yeah. We believe in principles, guiding principles. We don't want to get away from those. We want to climb up
conserving what we did right.
Right, yes.
Instead of ditching it all for the parts that were wrong.
Yes, yes. And a principle like liberty or justice. Those are principles that are like flagpoles. You climb up those to get close. You'll never get perfect, not on this in this earth. But you'll get closer, right? Yeah. Progressivism is, you're on the ground. That Overton window, have you heard that term?
No.
Okay. It's basically the window of what people can look through and see and think is true. It's shifted so far to the left.
Yeah.
That now the poles are so far apart. There's people that say they're in the middle, but the truth is the Overton window is so far over here. The middle used to be here, but the left has ran so far left. Now they find themselves taking very leftist positions.
Well, they're in 2009's left. The center is 2008's or 2006 to 8 to 10's left.
Yeah. So to me, the only way to combat that is not to do what we've always done and inch ourselves over. We've already done that. It doesn't work. Like you said, it'll never be enough. You'll never satisfy it. It's kind of to take a page out of Trump's playbook and have no fear. Punch back, not out of spite, not to be mean.
Yeah.
But
because I didn't like all the ways he did a lot of that.
I didn't either. I hated some of his tweets. I hated his first debate. There were things he did.
But I was glad he was standing. At least he was standing.
Yeah, and taking a lot of arrows that the most people will never know about to protect them.
Yeah.
All right, so we said all this. One last thing I want to touch on. So the most recent news story, all I've seen is headlines, but you said there's no forgiveness. Well, the thing is, George Floyd just 2 days ago, right? Or one day. Yesterday? Yesterday.
Yeah.
George Floyd was pronounced guilty on all counts.
Or Chauvin. Yeah, Derek Chauvin. Yeah. Floyd's been through enough.
He was guilty of some things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're gonna edit that part. So
he got all three charges.
Yeah. So let me start over.
Yeah.
I don't want to disappoint. So Derek Chauvin was pronounced guilty by the jury on all 3 counts. Right.
We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. this verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty.
And there's debate about whether that's, legit or not.
Yeah.
But hey, there it was. That's
Yeah.
what everybody from Joe Biden said he wanted when he weighed in, to Maxine Waters, and they got it.
Oh yeah, first time a president's ever spoke on a jury verdict before it happened.
First
That's
time.
its own discussion.
You're right. So that. So
I was expecting manslaughter. I didn't quite expect the other two because they just, if you look at what those murder charges
what they mean.
legally mean, it's just not applicable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably horrible I said that. But I mean, yeah, like to me, I was expecting at least the
Oh, words matter.
Once
The
the
law
pressure
matters.
came out, though, there was no way it was going to be a fair trial. So I'm not saying the guy's innocent, but I mean, I knew he was going to convict at least one of them after. I mean, you got Congress, Maxine Waters, you got people,
She's saying we
there's
need
no
to
way-
get more confrontation on the street.
What should protesters do?
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational.
They didn't even take their phones, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, come on, those jurors aren't honestly not checking social media and checking the news. They knew what was going on. Anyway.
Let's
But yes, this was going on.
Let's look at
You got
context
the
for a minute,
three.
because I want to speak to that, Maxine. Just one comment on that.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump on November 6th said, he incited violence. If you listen to his whole speech, he said, we're going to fight like hell, which people say that all the time in politics.
All politicians say
And
that. Yeah.
the context in which he said that, there had been rally after rally after rally with Trump supporters, all of them peaceful, no businesses burned, no people hurt, no racist activity,
Sure.
just a lot of people having fun supporting the president and believing in some values.
Yeah.
That's the context in which he said that. Now he said, we're going to fight like hell, put pressure on them. And then he also said, which they cut out, he's like, but, be peaceful. He would say those things.
Yeah, he did.
In
He
the
did.
same speech. Maxine Waters says, you got to get confrontational. We got to get in the streets even more.
Yeah.
And and she's like, I think it's first degree murder. It's nothing, that's not even on the table, first of all. So you're putting yourself in a position where it's definitely going to be a no to you on. There definitely needs to be more writing because it's not first degree murder, even though it's not even on the table. She's saying in a context where there's already tons of riots going on.
Yeah.
In Milwaukee.
And they're literally asking her about whether they should acknowledge curfew, all these questions that really
So
matter.
she's saying it while things are burning around her. It's two completely different standards.
And we're also, my brain instantly goes to how insulting it would be if I was a Democrat. And she said that just because, this isn't even a judge case. This is a jury case. So it's so illogical. I believe it was it 6 white people and 6 people of color was the jury.
I've watched only dude, I've been so busy.
No, but it's.
I'm relying on you right
I
now.
believe it was 6 white people and 6 people of color, if I'm not mistaken, were the jury. So it's so dumb. She's playing off people not understand how the justice system works. She acts like somehow that if they find him innocent in any of this, we got it right. As if some evil, the man is making it innocent. No, it's a jury case. These people are together deciding based on the evidence that both sides presented. That's how it's going to call it. So to me, right off the bat, I'm like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Either way, we would have to, accept it a little bit because a jury of our peers said this. It wasn't a 12-person white jury. It wasn't a 7-person white jury. And so it doesn't even, I don't know. Right off the bat, I'm like, wow, they must feel dumb, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Or generally speaking, I don't want to put everybody in a box, but
Well,
but she called, that's where I maybe wouldn't even I would expect that from Maxine Waters. We're forced to play defense on that. We're forced to go, well, with Trump, you guys said this. And that's to me the big, I don't know if paradox is the right word, but this is where it sucks is because you have basically now we have a lot of conservatives raising hell about things that we wouldn't even waste our time raising hell about, but we're doing it but y'all did this and 2017. So it's like, well, what about this? You guys are doing this. You guys were all big about that back when Trump was president. So we're left in this cycle where we're reaching back and saying, well, this is bullshit because you guys were mad about that back when Trump was president. Now you don't care. But then they do the same thing, except opposite, where they say, oh, you guys didn't care, now, so we get to do it too. And then, but then they stretch it past a real example that it's not
I do
comparative.
feel like there's a huge imbalance there, though, with
hugely.
Truth.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's being manipulated.
If you're
evilly.
moving more toward the center or the left, I understand. It's disappointing to me, but
Yeah. No. Sorry, a little mic drop here. But no, not at all. No. But
hold on,
I
wait
try
till
to
that's
also.
up.
I try to.
you lost a
I
little-
try to also
a
be.
little
Yeah,
fuzzy
my
there.
windscreen's gone, bro. But I do try to be ever self-checking on accidentally playing their games, and where we're justified. I'm trying to be the bigger man about it too, and go, like, I'm not saying we should. I feel like if they set that precedent with Trump, then at the very least we can expect the same. But even more so because Maxine Waters actually said, be more confrontational, be out there. She's literally instructing the people on the streets
in the midst of it
to
already
raise more
happening.
help.
Violence,
And not a single word speaking good about it at all.
Well, anyway, she got basically, other than first-degree murder, which wasn't on the table.
Yeah, he got.
They got what they wanted,
Yes.
right? Then today.
Yesterday.
Same day.
Yeah, in Columbus, Ohio.
So explain that, because you said earlier there's no forgiveness.
Yeah.
So, guilty on 3 counts, and then boom, what happens?
It's madness, because I even have sympathy on this for that movement. If that movement wants to bring in more people and stay solidified on against police brutality, maybe some logical police reform, which that one little section of that could be fixed. Either way, you don't water it down with cases that make no sense for the cause. Basically, yesterday, Columbus, Ohio, an officer gets a call. The police department gets a call about someone, a knife is present. I haven't heard the exact call. A knife is present. There's drama going, there's fighting going on. Get over there and, just do the call. Mm-hmm. Basically, he pulls up. You can find the video in slow motion online. When you watch it, he gets out. Of course, it's in slow motion. It's in suburbia. He's kind of walking. There's a parking lot right here with a car, or a driveway with a car. A girl in bright pink standing right here. Over here near the front door of the house, there's 2 guys, it looks like, and then these 2 girls, which you can't quite make out yet. They're fighting, I guess. They come flying over this way. This girl in pink is starting to walk over to the cop to talk to her. I don't know her motives, how good a bad person she is, but nonetheless. And in slow motion, you see them come over here. This girl hits the ground. This is the girl that ends up getting shot. She's charging over her, but then she kind of falls over to the side. Body cam comes over to the right. You see the guy that was now over there comes over right in front of the cop, kicks her in the face like once or twice in slow motion. It's easy to miss on the regular speed. And then the cop kind of starts to address that. Then you see, I guess he looked over, pulls out his weapon, points it down, comes over, and you realize what it is that girl that knocked her down now goes to the girl in pink I mentioned.
Okay.
With the knife, and is going literally as close to me and to you, doing this, and is going to stab her. It's a clear knife going to stab. This isn't a
clear, not translucent.
Yeah, right.
You can tell it's a knife.
You can tell it's a knife. Yeah, there's nothing missing there.
I've not seen any of this.
No, it's wild.
And walking roofs all day.
This isn't like, this isn't a scenario where it's a cop and there's a guy with a knife 30 feet away. He shouldn't have shot him. Right. This is a girl going to stab what's probably another minor. I haven't found that much out yet about it. No one has. That doesn't matter anymore whether we find out all the facts, but it's clear in this video, he shoots her. And so apparently people started marching from it. I saw the video. I saw a police officer that exercised precision shooting, quick judgment, and saved a girl's life.
Yeah.
But you're
imagine the thoughts in his head though. This is the day of the Chauvin trial. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm about to shoot a black woman. Please, God, don't make me have to do. Oh, I gotta kill her.
But he's saved. Yeah, and he's still saved. He could have purposely taken a little too long, been kind of whatever. But then you still get hit with this same string of arguments, I guess, from the other side.
From LeBron James, no less. I did see his tweet.
I didn't see his tweet, but I heard about him.
Yeah, he posted "You're next" with a picture of that officer.
Holy crap! Really?
Yeah. Wow. And then deleted it. So they're all over him right now.
Can you imagine the girl that got saved, the black girl that got saved, her and her family, how they feel seeing this, being like, wow, everybody's so mad he saved my life.
Yeah.
It's so mind-blowing. It's like,
now, those people, if they were BLM supporters, that might wake them up. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, those few probably will. And Breonna Taylor's mom's been giving BLM hell lately.
Yeah,
Have you
she's
caught
where
that?
all the money went.
Yeah, she yeah. But so then you have your same string of arguments that happen. I don't want to say excuses, but your arguments that happen. It tends to be this same circle of arguments, which sometimes are applicable and sometimes they have a very good point. But there's the shoot him in the leg. They should have shot him in the leg. Why'd they have to shoot him? Why'd they have to do that? And there's plenty of examples about adrenaline where people are killing someone, they're doing something, the leg doesn't stop them. They have to neutralize the threat. They're trained to neutralize the threat as quick as possible. It takes multiple shots. They just do it. They have mere milliseconds to react. That's it. They have to decide what they're doing, and they have to do it if they're going to do it. They can't, and if they shoot the leg, they might miss. I'm surprised. I mean, he had good shooting. That was another risk I thought. I was like, man, can you imagine the fear of shooting the wrong person?
Yeah.
Boy, would that do to the media. You know, if they're able to twist this. Then you have the other, which is why didn't he use a taser? Can he use another taser? That's a child. Why didn't he use a taser? Tasers
How old was the person?
16. She was a
big person,
a large child. Yeah.
Large.
I'm just saying, this is, you know, they say child real quick on the news.
I'm not laughing at the dead. I just, it's a big child.
She's larger than my wife. Who's an adult.
I saw a picture from the back. It looked like a big grown woman.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
And she may have more to grow, but either way, this was not some 8-year-old. This was not some 12-year-old. You know, this was a person. He had no way of knowing how old she was. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not, you know, but so there's the taser argument. Then you have, you know, why do you do that? Surely there's other ways. There's other ways. So I'm spitting. But those are known to be inaccurate. They're known to be ineffective. If they even connect and don't shoot off to the side or whatever, is it going to go through the clothing? Is it actually going to make contact? Then is it even going to work? Is it going to work enough to stop a person that is mid-swing? I don't get how people don't see this.
They do see it. If they even watch it. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
That's the thing. It's not like they've got a valid argument here. It hurts the narrative. It hurts the movement. So it's easier to jump on it and claim that it's something that it's not.
Jump on
because
while it's
after the big claims from LeBron and others filters through the media, they clean it up, polish it up, and say, "Oh, look what might have happened.
Yeah,
look at the ways they could have handled this differently, even if it's illogical." But
totally
they
illogical.
can say it. But that trickles down to the what one of those pundits in Atlanta used to call the low information voter, right?
Okay, yeah.
Just people that don't really they don't really know. They know more about celebrity culture than politics in general.
Yeah. Maybe they just don't care. Maybe they're too busy. Maybe they
busy,
don't. Whatever.
They just hear the snippet, and they believe it because it's like, well, this is what my community believes.
Yeah.
You know.
But once the damage is done, that's all that matters. So that's the thing is, if you remember, it was months ago. It's been a while, but there was it was near another protest. It might have been one of the Breonna protests. There was these two cops. They were talking these. They had a run-in with these two guys on a sidewalk, middle of the day. And literally from a distance, the guy pulled a gun out at the officers to shoot them, and they beat him to it and shot him down. They marched for him. It was a big old thing. But I noticed when I actually followed that one pretty good. Yeah. And when the truth came out, it just fizzled away in silence. Yeah. And I was like, but the damage is done. It doesn't matter. Enough had been done.
I call it the 3-month truth delay. You know. It's front page big story, back page apology 3 months later. Yeah. Damage is done.
Doesn't matter. And they got their headlines out. You know, that's one thing that's sad about media as a whole, outside of Fox or some of those companies, you know, instantly going left is, you know, I feel like in the world of journalism, you know, 50 years ago, however long, they want to beat everybody to the story. So they have to choose their selective facts that they can get away with. But sadly, when they're all left or to the right or whatever they may be, in this case, it seems to be the left now, they're going to do the thing that if they are a little wrong, it's okay because the things they said were leftists. Friendly, leftist approved. So the things you see, you know, it's stuff that's damning. It plays ball. So even if they don't have a clear meeting every day where we're going to screw up the right and we're going to make this and that, they're playing ball within the confines of that liberal agenda, leftist agenda, and it's so dangerous. I screenshot some of the headlines from this event. They luckily were at least changing.
The one from
yesterday. They were already changing by today at least. You know, body cam footage release, gun wielding. But even then, the ones that said shot dead from brandishing a knife. No, that's false reporting. She was literally live on camera, attempted aggravated assault or attempted murder.
It's only said in a way that is friendly to the narrative. That's it.
Yeah, and they barely stayed within truth factually. The original reports all say, you could just see them one after another from all sorts of media outlets. It said, they said 15-year-old girl a couple times. It said 16-year-old girl that called police shot dead. They clearly were leaning on that she was killed after she made the call, which instills don't call. It's worse if you call, those kind of horrible society damning things, you know. And then it just basically that she was shot dead, leaving you to assume that it was some friendly thing, and they just big bad, you know, pigs came out and killed him down. It's just sad.
At the end of the day, you know, what to me the king argument that kind of just like trumps all of this in terms of what matters. Okay. If Black Lives matter like they do, they all matter, all of them. And it doesn't matter the color of the person shooting, okay? It really shouldn't.
No.
So if you're looking at it like that and you say, okay, if you just paid attention to the media, you'd think there's thousands of innocent black people being shot by cops every year.
Racist cops. Yeah.
Racist cops.
With racism as the reason. Yeah.
As the reason. No, it's somewhere between 10 and 20 every year for the last 10 years, give or take a little.
With still racism not even clearly being the reason.
Most of the time, not. Most of the time, it's they're aggressively going against the cop, whatever.
Yeah.
I know this is a common argument, but it's a true one. You got to say it. For the last 10 years in Chicago, do you know how many black people have died every year?
I don't remember the number.
It's over 300 every year. So you got one
city
versus this little cross section over here of cops that shoot or kill somehow
out of
an
millions and millions of
interactions versus this one city over 300 a year every year.
Yeah,
the imbalance is so great. It's like you said it earlier. We get caught up playing defense on stuff that really shouldn't even be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So yes, we should always fund the police to provide for better training. Better training. We're not against that.
Continual training's a biggie for me. I'm surprised that a cop that's been on for the girl that accidentally didn't use her taser but used her gun. That's a biggie now. A week or two ago, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That she'd been on the force for decades, but they don't.
Again, that's another.
Yeah. With my home inspection business, I have to do continual education. With music, if I don't practice, I start to suck. So I personally like to see a biannual training. That's cool. That's stuff that can happen. That's an answer. That's a solution. Whether it is the solution, it's a solution.
And it's an answer to a problem that happens that shows itself with cases like that. Yeah. But if you look at that problem here, I mean, talk about a mountain and a molehill when it comes to black lives.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I mean, we're two white guys sitting here. Obviously, this could get thrown back in our face. But here's the thing. I could have plenty of black people sitting in that chair that are more well-read and versed on this topic than either of us.
Yeah.
And they would 100% agree because their eyes they're not woke, but they're awake. They're awake to actual, statistics and facts and logic. It matters in making these decisions.
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, if we're gonna take the little thing here and we're going to try to burn down all of society over it.
Yeah,
it's something's not true. The people pulling the strings back behind, they're being disingenuous.
Or the way to say the horrible words of there's an issue with maybe parts of that culture, that's considered so horrible and racist. But what's wild to me is, I personally feel some evil white people from years ago spun that culture up. So I'm not allowed to condemn the culture that you think they would be agreeing with. We need to get past this culture of materialism over building up the race, building up the areas, building up the
BLM made it clear.
Like the hip hop culture, I feel like probably was created by some white dudes that maybe didn't have the best intention. But if I say there's some issues with the black culture, then you piece of crap racist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fatherlessness in the homes is the number one cause of incarceration for not black men. Any black, white, Hispanic, doesn't matter. That's the number one cause.
They had a better marriage rate than whites for the longest time.
You've been reading your Thomas Sowell, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And yes, Candace Owens says it best. She's like, around the 60s, after the civil rights movement, the Democrats saw an opportunity and they decided, okay, since we can't actually be racist anymore, let's use it as a power tool. Let's marry black women to the government instead of men.
Yes.
And that's where you got, the men, there's this rap culture kind of like, we have it too, grown up little boys in men's bodies, but that don't want to be involved with that responsibility because it is a weight, to provide for a family. But then you've got women that see more of an opportunity with, if I have more kids, without the husband, I get more from the government.
Right. At the very least, I don't have to try very hard to keep my guy because I always have the state.
That's right.
Even if that's it, it's like
there's a lot of things that go into it, but it created this monster now. But you're right. If I say, which I am saying it, that fatherlessness in the homes in the black community is a huge problem, bigger than systemic racism among police forces or unconscious bias among police.
Huge. Obama even spoke on this before.
Who did?
Obama.
Before he began to change his tune.
Yeah. Before the woke thing took over.
But if we're honest with ourselves, we'll admit that too many fathers are also missing. Too many fathers are MIA. Too many fathers are AWOL. Missing from too many lives and too many homes. They've abandoned their responsibilities. They're acting like boys instead of men.
Even straying from his script to make this point.
Any fool can have a child. That doesn't make you a father.
It's because it nurtures that whole idea that if you bring out any negatives that may be committed by people of color in society, you're somehow discounting that whole movement. So shut up. You can't do that. But it's okay. Don Lemon even
I saw this.
had that thing he did. Yeah, where he actually was saying logical things. It's not
He was
racist
kind
to say
of
that.
repeating what Obama said about fatherlessness in the home and all that stuff being a
Culture.
big problem. And
He even said, like, pull up your pants and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which you definitely can't say, like, that's a big no, that approach.
totally condemned it.
Yeah. But and it's sad, too, because it's like, to me, not addressing those things is oddly what's racist to me.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, man. We could go on and on. There's so many
Yeah.
issues going on right now in culture. And, Jason, it's cool to get to know you. I mean, we hadn't seen each other 15 years.
Yeah.
So to get together again and connect on the kind of life trajectory level of wanting to make it in a certain way career and letting yourself get in the way and kind of hitting the trench, right?
Yeah.
And then
Definitely.
climbing back out. We both experienced that, but we're in this journey together, and we're in it with you guys too. And I think the key theme that I'm hearing everywhere, I heard it at the Turning Point USA investors meeting this weekend in Phoenix. I see it in Jason as, a regular guy who's got a fun thing going and enjoying life, but we're seeing this thing happen all across the country. The media is not going to help us. The college institutions aren't going to help us. Only we can help us at this point. And I think the only way that we're going to help each other is to just start speaking out and saying hard things and not being worried about names that you're going to be called. Because if most of this gets released, we'll be called some names, right?
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
I ain't worried about it, man.
Not either.
Great
It's what
seeing
it
you,
is, my
brother.
man. You too.
Yeah.
I appreciate having me.
Yeah, man. Enjoyed it.